everybody's interested. I thought I was the only one that was this crazy about Parkinson's, but I'm very thankful that you're all here to learn about this today. And I'm going to start out very basic and just ask the question, what is Parkinson's? Does anybody know how to explain what the body's doing that causes Parkinson's? And it's the lack of dopamine, and the brain stops making it completely, or it reduces the amount that it makes. And dopamine is required for the body to make smooth automatic movements for your muscles. An example is walking up the stairs. I'm sure most of the time you just walk up the stairs and don't even think about taking another step. You just do it. For me, when I walk up the steps, I have to remind my right leg to step all the way up, or otherwise it will step halfway and then I stumble. And it's not that I can't do it, it's the intentionality that changes. So it's very important to concentrate and think about what you do more so than if you had the right amount of dopamine. And then the next question, any idea what causes what causes Parkinson's?
Anita, I didn't want to interrupt you, but I did want to remind everyone that on the invite, there was some material if y'all didn't have a chance to look at it.
That's right. Yes, I will be referring to that as we go along. And it's no big deal if you haven't seen it ahead of time. It won't impact you. But anyway, does anyone know what causes Parkinson's?
Oh, is it like a plaque that builds up around the dopamine or something like that? Like, I wish I knew more about it. That's why I joined. Because I'm trying to learn.
Well, there's a big controversy about what the causes are, because is it genetic? Is it environment? And the scientists, that's who I'm going to pay attention to. The scientists are saying it is mostly environmental. Less than 15% of the people have the gene. And I had the test for it, and I don't have the gene. So there's a big belief that we're exposed to toxins in the environment, especially a big one is paraquat. And there's a push to get paraquat banned in the United States. There are 70 countries that have banned it already. And get this, China is one of the countries that has banned it, but they still produce it. And guess where they sell it? To the United States. And the controversy is because it's used by farmers as a pesticide. But these other countries, 70 other countries, have banned it, and they have found replacements for the paraquat as pesticide, and it did not impact their volume of production at all. But convincing the people here, that's another challenge. So anyway, that's the thoughts on the causes of it. It's not just, people used to think it's old age, and it's just naturally going to happen to your brain. That's not true. At least I don't believe that after everything I've read about it. But what we do know for a fact is that it's the fastest growing neurological disease in the world. And the pace at which it's growing is accelerating. There was a survey in 2012 that showed 60,000 new people in the US every year get it. That same survey 10 years later showed 90,000 new people get it every year. 90,000 over 60,000. That's a 50% increase in the pace. So we should be a little nervous about this. And then how do people know they have Parkinson's? What are the symptoms? And that's one of the things that was sent to, so I don't know if you've looked at it yet or not, but it's called the 10 early signs of Parkinson's. In fact, I use the word 10 surprising early signs, because things that are your first indicators, you wouldn't even think they're medical related. Like for me, the very first thing that I noticed was my handwriting. It was small. It was difficult. I didn't dream that was a medical issue. I just thought, well, that's aging, and wrote it off. I ignored it. And there were a couple other things. And then what made me start paying attention to it, though, one of these leaflets, not this exact one because we designed this one, but a leaflet came in the mail called 10 Early Signs of Parkinson's. And as I'm looking through it, getting ready to throw it away, I noticed that I had 4 of the 10 symptoms. So that was my red flag to say, hey, maybe I need to do something about this, or, at least talk to my doctor. And so I did talk to my regular family doctor, who I love her. She's great, always paid attention to anything I had questions about. And her best advice was go see a neurologist. And so I did that. And he thought maybe I had Parkinson's. He wasn't sure about it. And so he sent me to a movement disorder specialist. And that was very good advice, because they are the best ones. They're a neurologist who specializes in Parkinson's and other movement disorders. And so because of this leaflet coming in the mail, I was diagnosed much earlier than I would have been otherwise, because I would not have thought any of these symptoms were medically related at all. And why is an early diagnosis important? Well, it helps you learn how to manage it. Well, how do I say that? The earlier you know about it, the sooner you can start to manage it, is how I would say it. And the only thing that can slow the progression is exercise. And so if you know about it sooner, then you can get the right exercise going. Fortunately for me, I had always exercised, or at least around age 40, I started. And I think that helped me probably keep my symptoms at bay longer. I probably had the Parkinson's going on for a while, but didn't realize it because I did exercise so much. And the reason that Rock Steady was started had to do with Scott Newman. I don't know, some of you might have heard of him, but he was a Marion County prosecutor here in Indianapolis. And he was diagnosed with Parkinson's at age 40. And he, at first, did what the doctor said, and that was to do nothing, basically, until somebody came along and said, get off the couch, come and exercise with me. This isn't healthy for you to sit around and do nothing. And in doing that, he started to see his symptoms reverse, and which had never happened to anybody before. And so, long story short, he started Rock Steady Boxing. That's where Rhodes, that I mentioned earlier, helped him get that going. And 20 years later, now it's like in over 800 locations and about a dozen countries, I think. So anyway, that's the reason why the early diagnosis is important. Now, you might be thinking, what about medication? And medication is important for sure, but it does not reverse your symptoms. It doesn't even slow your symptoms down. It does help you manage your symptoms, because if my symptoms are at bay for the day, then I'm better able to exercise. But that, if I don't take the medicine the next day, their symptoms are the same. Whereas the exercise can actually make me feel better. Like, I can tell, like if I happen to be on vacation or traveling or something and don't get to go to Rock Steady for a few days, I can feel it in my body. And when I go again, like, oh my goodness, I feel so good again, because it stretches the muscles out and helps them not be so tight, and just helps movement in general. So I'm a big proponent of Rock Steady Boxing and other exercise too. And then also there are myths surrounding the medications. There are people who don't take any medications at all. And one of my first questions to the doctor was, I had read that if you take the medication, it eventually wears off, and then you have to keep taking more. Well, the myth of that is the fact that you might have to take more, but that's because your symptoms progress whether you take the medication or not. And so I chose to take it, and I don't take a high dose. I take enough that it does make a difference in my symptoms. I'm fortunate I don't have severe tremors. Mine are pretty mild, so that part is good. But it does impact my voice. So I hope I should have asked that early on. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
That has been a major issue for me. Although I'll make a little insert in here. I have something new. This looks like a watch on my hand, but it's a band called the beach band. It sends little vibrations through my body impulses, and my voice has been much better ever since I got this 2 weeks ago. And I'm thrilled because like 2 weeks ago, I don't think I could have even had this session because you wouldn't have heard me at all. So anyway, a little side note there. Let's see, where am I? See, I can just get off and start talking and forget where I am. So the most important factor, after exercise, the most important factor in managing Parkinson's is attitude. And that's why when I was first diagnosed, I decided to apply what I call the 3 E's. And you embrace it, you educate yourself, and you exercise. And what do I mean by embrace it? Well, it certainly doesn't mean I like having it, but I do accept it. I'm not ashamed of it, as I've heard some people say they are, and I'm open about it. And I hope by being open about it, that I'm helping other people, to, so they can ask questions and feel more comfortable. Excuse me, my mouth does get dry with this too. And then the education part, I'm going to come back to that in a minute because I'm going to talk about that quite a bit. So going back to the exercise part, that is the lifeline to staying active, independent, and energetic. And as I said, I've always exercised, but now it's different. It's more intense and it's more intentional. You remember I referred to the walking up the stairs example about how I have to be intentional about that. Well, at Rock Steady, some of the exercises we do, it's not all boxing, it's full body workout. And we do what they just call high knees. You just stand in place and you're lifting your knees as high as you can, because that's helping to train your muscles to remember to do that. And let's see. Oh yeah, it's because it's reminding our muscles to do what dopamine should be telling us to do. But without it, we have to be intentional about it. And also exercising in a group, very new to me. I had never exercised in a group. I didn't want any part of that. But now that I do, I really enjoy it for many reasons. Partly it's a good motivation, and you work harder when you're in a group than when you're alone. And I've met the nicest people. I mean, I have new friends, and at this age, I didn't expect to meet new people that I would become new friends with, but we truly are. We even go out to dinner with people that normally Larry's like, oh, we don't need to go in place, we'll sit at home. No, we're going to dinner with people, and he likes it too. So there are little side benefits of this you would never expect. So back to the education part now. At Rocksteady, there was a coach there who loaned me a book, the book called, right here, Ending Parkinson's Disease, written by 4 doctors, including Dr. Dorsey's the main one. And chapter 3 of the book talks about the need for a campaign like polio had. Many of you won't remember that, but you might have read it in history books. And AIDS and the breast cancer. They all had campaigns that turned around the disease. And shortly after that, after reading the book in that chapter, I found out that the red tulip was the symbol, which came out of the care committee. And like I said at the beginning of this, Leslie Adams sent me an email and mentioned something about she had bought red tulips that day at the grocery store in honor of Parkinson's. And that was my first realization that the red tulip was the symbol for Parkinson's. So I put 2 and 2 together, like, well, if we need a campaign, and the symbols always help in campaigns, like the pink ribbon for breast cancer, then let's just go with this. And I was so naive. I thought, well, all I have to do is point this out to the large organizations and suggest that they start adding it to their materials. And I thought they would know it was a brilliant idea and they would start doing it. Well, they kind of ignored me. So I had to take a different approach. Unfortunately, I had met some people that were very encouraging and knew a lot of people in the, at least the local area here involved in Parkinson's, and suggested that we go from a grassroots movement. And so we started to go out and increase awareness in a different way. We started the nonprofit called Red Tulip for Parkinson's Awareness. And we increased our presence at different events. Like the Parkinson's Foundation had Move Day last September. The Indiana Parkinson's Foundation had Pickleball in November. We went to the policy for Parkinson's Policy Forum in DC in March, and to a Fox fundraiser in Nashville, Tennessee in April. Then the Indiana Parkinson's Foundation had a walk in April that we had a table there. And the IU Health Symposium had an event in May here in Indianapolis. And then we went to the World Parkinson's Congress in Phoenix in May. And I think I probably have left a few things out. But anyway, we've been busy. And the good thing is the receptivity has been very positive from people. They're like, many of them say, we didn't know that the red tulip was the symbol. So they're pleased to know that. And then they're like me, they're like, well, why don't we spread the word on this? I've had people contact me from all over the country and say, how can we help with this? I had a person from Rochester, New York. She wants to do a fundraiser. Someone from Tennessee saw about the Fox thing down there with the fundraiser they had, and then found out about us and contacted us and said, how do we get you down here? Saying you meaning the red tulip. So the word is getting out, and it is being received well. And a really bright note, the Indiana Parkinson's Foundation has agreed to put the red tulip logo on their materials. And that's one of the main things that we're trying to have happen. So we need the widespread use of it. And the challenge is that the large organizations are very protective of their branding, as they should be. I mean, that brand is important, but we're not suggesting to them that they change their brand. We're just saying add the red tulip with it. And it's kind of like this. If you think about the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marines, they all think they're the best part of the military, right? And they will compete like in an Army-Navy football game and all that. But let us all need to come together under the United States flag, and they are there under that flag, knowing that they are all one under that flag. And that's how we're looking at red tulip. We need the Parkinson's Foundation. We need the Michael J. Fox Foundation. We need all of those. But they also need to come together under the red tulip. What we want to do is promote them to work better together. And one of the challenges, besides just the branding issue, is they're all trying to get donations. And donations are limited, of course, so they're all fighting for that same dollar. And every time there's a new nonprofit that comes up, it's like there goes another fight for a dollar. But that's not us. We don't want the donations. In fact, if somebody even donations to us, we'll find a good way to do that. We might, do a matching fund. That's what they call it. We can use the money to set up a matching fund for an organization. But the bottom line is we do not want to take any money away from any of the other organizations. And we've even, I'll give Larry credit on this one. He and Jordan have done a little booklet that you also had emailed to you. And it's called There's a Villain Hiding in Plain Sight. And this describes the fact that we do not want to take any money away from them. It says the villain is Parkinson's, and all of the organizations are the superheroes fighting Parkinson's. And that's what we want to be focused on, that the heroes are fighting it together. We need to fight the villain and not each other. We need to be supportive in bringing this to the public. And why is this important? Funding for research. The campaigns, they draw attention. It's like, if I can give you the examples of AIDS and breast cancer. The first case of AIDS was in 1981. And the public got behind AIDS. And there was over 500,000 people showed up at the National Mall in DC in 1987 in support of paying attention to AIDS and getting the research going for it. And within 20 years, AIDS stopped being a death sentence and started to be more like what you would consider a chronic disease. I certainly still don't want to get it and have to manage it all your life, but it's no longer a death sentence. And breast cancer, the same way. In the early 80s, it had a 45% survival rate. And then the public got behind it. The pink ribbon came out in the 90s. And within 20 years of when the push started for breast cancer, it went from the 45% survival rate to over 88% survival rate. So it's still a very serious disease. Of course it is. And it does still, 88% means there's still 12% that die with it. But what a difference in 45% and 88%. And the grassroots movement made the difference in that. I mentioned the 500,000 showing up in D.C. and then Charlotte Haley cutting out ribbons on her kitchen table and then taking them to the doctor's office and getting attention paid there. So that's why I remind myself every time I think, what am I doing? Who's going to pay attention to this red tulip? Well, people paid attention to the pink ribbon, and they still do. I mean, think about in October every year, the National Football League, everybody wears pink and they have ribbons on. So we know we can make a difference if we stay with this. And it's what's important here too. People without Parkinson's don't understand the seriousness of it. And part of that is because Parkinson's doesn't kill you quickly. And that AIDS did kill people quickly, and breast cancer can kill people quickly. But just because it doesn't kill you quickly doesn't mean it's fun to live with. You know, that's what we talk about, the quality of life. It is serious. And ask people who live with it daily. I mean, you get up in the morning sometimes and every muscle in your body hurts when you wake up. You can't sleep for more than 5 hours a night. So then that impacts the energy that you have the next day. You can have falls, anxiety. You can't be heard because your voice is so impacted. Choking is a hazard because swallowing involves muscles. People become wheelchair bound. They get to the point they can't dress themselves. They lose all independence. In fact, if you look at, you don't have to look right now, but in page 2 of this little villain booklet, there's a list of things that says what Parkinson steals. It steals movement, voice, swallowing, sleep, career, independence, memory, and dignity. That's a big one, the dignity. And so even though you can live with it for a long time, the quality of life is a big deal here. And one thing too, I want to add, the fact that it impacts your muscles. And one thing people don't think about, because we take this for granted, everything in your body is a muscle. From swallowing, because of your neck, those are muscles for swallowing. Eyelids. Sometimes in the morning I wake up and I'm like, I can't open my eyes because they just feel heavy. And I've actually taken my fingers and lifted my eyelids before. So it just impacts far more than you think about. And I'm not saying any of that in any complaining mode. I am so fortunate, and I consider where I am in this. My symptoms are minor, and I'm only talking about it in this way to help increase the awareness of it. And one of the things where I was going with this is we need people that don't have Parkinson's to get involved, because that's the difference. That's when the money will start to come. We can get the congressmen to pay attention, that they need to put the money from the NIH, which is the National Institute for Health. They have to get involved in this. And so the more people that know about it, the better reaction we can get from Congress, and more donations also. And then also I want to add, this impacts more than just the person with Parkinson's. It impacts the whole family, and especially the one who becomes a primary caregiver. And eventually their independence is taken away too, because they have to be available 24/7. And I haven't even touched on young onset Parkinson's. And by that, the number of people under 50 is increasing. It was 10% of the people with Parkinson's were under 50, and that's heading toward 20% now. When we were in DC, we met two people that were from Indiana. They were both age 45, and they both had Parkinson's for 6 years, since they were 39 years old. And then when I was at the Parkinson's Congress recently, the youngest person I ever met that with Parkinson's, she had since she was 25. So it's just getting younger and younger. So what do you do with all of this information? Because I dumped a lot of information here on you. My strongest recommendations: pay attention to the chemicals that you're exposed to. Think about that when you're eating food. Be sure you wash all your fruits and vegetables. And then also, I could say, become an advocate. And that sounds like a big job, but it's really not. Becoming an advocate is as simple as following us on social media. We have Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, even TikTok, which I don't know how to use, but we're on there. So just doing that, liking us, following us, that's a big deal. Wear a tulip. Like I have a pendant on here. We have lapel pins. Larry has lapel pin on all the time. Shirts and caps. Oh, can you see my shirt I have on here? And we have caps. We have a number of things available on the website in the store. And then we also have wristbands. And my favorite, car stickers. They go in the back windows of our cars so that when people are driving, total strangers see them. And cute little story. Neil, some of you know, he was out driving with his son, Quentin, the grandson, and they spotted one of the stickers on the back of the car. And they called me, and they were so excited that they had seen one of our stickers. So people will start to see them. And then there are also stickers that you can put on like water bottles or phone covers. And just by having these things seen, starts to get it out there. It's every time you think about that, think about the pink ribbon. Everybody knows what the pink ribbon stands for. And that's our goal. We want everybody to know what the red tulip stands for. But because it's more difficult to get this started, we put the words around the tulip that actually says Red Tulip for Parkinson's Awareness. And we made that part of our logo. You can also do things like ask your doctor to put the 10 signs in the waiting room. That's the reason we have these printed out. We have people doing that. And we've made some real good headway in that. You should join us at an event. We always need people to help us at these events. And you can also even attend an event on your own, because we could buy the materials for you to do that. And it's not as hard as you think. It's surprisingly easy. And let's see what else. It seems like there was something else on here. Just even this. If you tell one person about the red tulip and Parkinson's, that's being an advocate too. So there's just so many ways, big and small, that you can help out. And mostly, feel free to ask me anything. And when you talk to someone with Parkinson's, don't treat them differently. Be sure you are patient with them. And if they're a little slow in getting their words out sometimes, or getting their charge card out of their wallet, be patient. If you think it's frustrating to watch, think how frustrating it is to be the one that trying to get the words out or trying to get the charge card out of their wallet. So be patient. Don't feel sorry for us. We aren't looking for sympathy, only support. So, and I thank all of you for your support. It's been.
Thank you so much, Anita. I'm so thankful that, we had the turnout that we did for you, and the people that couldn't make it, the outreach of that's why we're recording it for you, and just the awareness and all the extra information. And I was gonna open it up to see if anybody had questions, but that's up to you if you feel
Oh,
like
yeah,
sticking around
it's
even
fine.
longer, because we've kept you for a while now.
No, it's good. I'm sorry. The only
Oh,
time I get emotional, the only time is when I think about how nice everyone.
I completely relate with you. I'm fine unless somebody else gets emotional, or if someone comes up and hugs me, and then I turn into a big baby.
Right, yeah.
Um,
That's right. I thought I was going
so
to be fine all the way through this because I've been excited to talk to everybody. And so,
um,
seriously, if you have any questions at all, please ask. I kind of rambled on a little bit on some of this stuff.
I had one to kick it off, and then we can try to go around the room and, not cut talk over everyone like it happens sometimes. But I noticed that you were talking about the age and it getting younger and younger. Do you think that's related to like the awareness that's coming about and more people being aware and looking for it younger?
No, I think it's because of the environment, more
Environment,
exposure. Yeah,
chemicals.
yeah. And to emphasize the environment part of this, I'm sure most, if not all of you, have heard about Camp Lejeune and the people that were exposed to all kinds of chemicals there. And the list is very long as to the conditions that they get. Well, specifically, was a basketball player. His name Brian Grant. I'd never heard of him, but I think he was pretty well known. He was diagnosed with Parkinson's in his 30s, and he had lived in Camp Lejeune when he was 3 years old. And his father had cancer, and his mother had some other condition that I forget. But they are sure that it was all the exposure there. And that is a good example too of they were all exposed to the same chemicals, but got different conditions, different diseases. And that's one of the challenges with this is proving that there's a direct relation between some of these chemicals and the disease, because years pass for one thing. So it's hard to know when were you exposed. And then, well, you're exposed to something and you get it, but then the next person doesn't get it. And the best analogy I heard on that was about smoking. Everybody that smokes doesn't get cancer, but there's no doubt that smoking causes cancer. It's the same thing. We were all exposed to these chemicals. Some of us get Parkinson's, some of us don't. That doesn't mean the chemical should be continued to be used.
Exactly. We do have one. Judy has a question for us. I was trying to watch. And also, if y'all want to look at the chat now or later, there's our awesome marketing communications people who work with Anita are putting it out there for you. But Judy, I'll give you the floor.
I don't really have a question, Anita, but I just want to say thank you. Thank you for sharing. My husband was diagnosed approximately 4 or 5 years ago, and we noticed the symptoms, but it was continued on as the doctors thought that it was carpal tunnel, because carpal tunnel can resemble some of the same symptoms. And then as we noticed the gaits, so you just what you have started over this last year and watching you, and I may get emotional. Thank you. Thank you so much, because even through you and what you've done and watching you this last year, I've learned a lot. And even on top of what we have investigated, talked to doctors, you have been a true encouragement. And just like with the vibration band and everything. So you're you're making a difference, a huge difference. So
Thank you for
thank you.
saying that. But remember, don't be nice to me.
Yeah. I learned that early. I think we learned that early about each other. Anita's been graciously through all her struggles. She reaches out to me to ask about my husband, and I told her from day one, if you hug me or be nice, I'm gonna get emotional. But one thing I picked up that you were you said about, your foundation is that you're not looking for donations. You're not going after money. It's about all of it coming together, working as one. I'm not going to steal your spotlight. If y'all want to know my story, please reach out to me. But there are so many small foundations and other things that affect people that, you may not be aware of, you don't know, but the fact that your foundation is not just Parkinson's, it's like awareness, you know, your focus is Parkinson's, but you're not trying to take away from anything else. It's all about what that person's going through, and the point about the caregiver, it doesn't matter what's going on. The caregiver is the struggle also. Um, and I can't see anyone ever treating you any different because you're just too strong. Um, Does anybody else have any other questions or anything they want to say before I make it worse?
So I can add to that. I think it sounds like we need a Parkinson's support group here. I lost my husband 5 years ago. He had Parkinson's, although that was not the ultimate cause of his death. But I think one thing Anita said was having a community around you is so important, and whether it be with Rock Steady Boxing or just other people who are dealing with that. And I think the other thing, everyone just assumes that the tremor in the hands is the first thing to go, but it is not always that case. And one of the things that I realized, and the when Anita said that, she has to think about taking the right foot up to the next step. And that's a thing that happens with many muscular functions. You will come to a doorway and just stop. And you have to tell yourself to move on or to swallow the food that you've put in your mouth or something like that. So it's complicated, and anyone who is a caregiver, the hardest thing for me dealing with it was to give myself a little grace in the hard times, because it's hard to deal with, and you just have to learn how to deal with it. And when you need a moment, say it's okay to turn around and walk out of the room for a minute and get it back together. But if anyone wants to reach out, I'd be more than happy to talk with you.
Yeah. Leslie, if I can offer you a branch, any of us on the care committee, I love the idea of support groups. There's a lot of different things across our company. And so if you want to get involved or speak with one of us on, trying to help you get that kicked up, we're open.
If I may interject, this is Jan, and I have the privilege of working out at Rock Steady Boxing alongside Anita and Larry. And as Larry's always saying, he looks down at Anita and said, Anita, your Parkinson's is killing me, because it is a tough workout. But to watch this woman for the last year and a half, I'm my husband's corner man with his Parkinson's, but I have to tell you, to watch Anita week after week after week, more than twice a week, she is a machine, and she's not going to let this thing beat her. And I put in the chat the thing that we have Anita's story video on the Red Tulip for Parkinson's website, and I would encourage all of you to go out. It's just a couple-minute video that our videographer here on our KBA team had shot of her, but I just love to hear her story. But if you could see her work out, she's not going to let this thing beat her. She is going to, as she said in the video, throw it in the trunk. It may make a lot of noise, but she's in the driver's seat. And that was my favorite line that she actually said. So Anita, I just wanted to brag on you a little bit, because and for you to start this organization from a grassroots, Like it's like from one woman's kitchen table to a movement nationwide, and we all get to witness this here in the Key family. So thank you, Anita.
Thank you, Jen.
Yeah, that's one thing I will, add on to. If y'all please go look at their Facebook at the website, and I hope Anita doesn't get offended. I call her little woman because she is very small in stature, but she's freaking amazing, and she could probably kick my butt. But you could see videos of her. She's fierce.
Well, thank you.
Just for the record, I would never call Anita little woman.
It's all fine. And, I'm amazed by all of this myself because a year ago, this didn't exist. I remember very clearly the timing because I was trying to get letters out that I sent to all the big organizations back when I was being naive, as I said, thinking that, everybody would just jump on this bandwagon immediately. And it wasn't until July 28th of last year that we actually formed the nonprofit. And then from there to now, the number of places we've been, the exposure that we've had, and I still have moments where I feel discouraged. And then I get a good night's sleep, and the next day I'm ready to go again. And then I'm surrounded by people who are so supportive. Just like what you just heard Jan saying. I mean, she's been instrumental in so many things that we've got going here. And Danny and her creativity and coming up with putting the words of Red Tulip for Parkinson's awareness around the tulip and making that look so good. And then Larry has been great. He's been very supportive, despite the fact that he has a hard time sleeping. And you didn't know that Parkinson's, it's really hard on the caregiver's sleep because we scream in our sleep. And I always say, well, I'm sleeping fine. What's your problem? But seriously, we have so many people that are just come together on this. And it's been fun in that sense. The hardest part is it's taking away from me being a grandma sometimes. Yeah.
Anita, I want to tell you, you started more than a Parkinson movement. It's truly an environmental movement, because even in my neighborhood, now we've started talking to people about not putting chemicals on their lawn because our grandkids all play on those yards, and we got to look at that generation behind us. We also have all of our water supply. It's a bunch of reservoirs that come down through all the farm country in Northeast Ohio, and they trickle down, and it ends where I live. And that's the water supply for like the whole area of Akron and that whole area. And you wonder about the paraquat and those type of chemicals leaching in to the water supply. So right. You have started more than just that, because it made me really aware, even though I was aware to some extent, but it has pushed it to a new level when you think about the little ones coming up behind us.
Yes.
So,
and I just touched on that a little bit, but seriously, you guys should read about it more, because golf courses are a big thing. And you may not play golf, but if you live close to golf courses, and I don't know which ones use the bad chemicals and which ones use the good ones. It's hard to know. And I did the simple thing too. We have spray for mosquitoes around because we live in the middle of the woods. Mm-hmm. And after getting Parkinson's and reading about the chemicals and stuff, I researched what they use for the mosquitoes. And I couldn't tell as an absolute whether it was a bad chemical or not. But rather than take a chance, I talked to them, and they had what they call a clean version of what they do. And they use some kind of essential oils. And I switched to that. And I have seen a change in the number of mosquitoes. So why not always use a safer choice?
I can tell you, we put lime on our yard to control flea and ticks. And that's the safe product. I served we got one national park here in Ohio, and I served on their board, and they acquired a golf course in the national park. And I drove by there one day, and there's all these environmental guys out in their white suits, all geared up, working around the old green. So, I stopped, and asked them what was going on. And a lot of the old golf courses used copper on the greens to hold the fertilizer. And it is so bad that they have to take all the soil out and dispose of it. That's just one chemical that the golf courses use. And I live on a golf course community here. So
you say they use copper?
It's a copper that they put down and it holds the fertilizer on the greens.
Yeah. Well, that caught my attention because I've been going to a functional doctor also, and they did some testing for toxins in my body, and copper was one of the toxins that they found, and we're trying to detox my body now from copper and nickel and manganese.
You think about golfing, we're all out there picking up our ball and moving around, and then we grab a sandwich at the halfway mark, and we don't wash our hands.
Right.
You know, but unfortunately, I sort of quit golfing all over that. I don't need to be on the courses with all those chemicals, but the movement is bigger than you realize that you've started. So I just wanted to.
I'm glad to hear that. You know what just struck me, the irony of we're having a big golf outing for our big fundraiser. You know, who knows what we're exposed to out there, but you know, you can't stop living either.
No, you can't. I'm not saying it, but they have changed. The copper, I don't think they use anymore. This was an older golf. Yeah.
And you know what we should? We'll do this. Amy, we'll be doing this. We're going to call the golf course and ask them what they use. And it may not, you know, I don't know what they use and if they'll pay any attention, but at least it's part of that raising awareness. Maybe it'll call attention to them, and maybe it'll make us feel better about what they use.
Sure.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get, Anita, I don't want to get your email flooded, but I just had a thought, maybe like what Marlon just brought up, if there's any other thing that you've heard or you've been aware of, or like certain chemicals or, you know, something that's chemical free you've learned to replace, maybe you could shoot it over to her team and they could include it in their foundation and their news and help share those. And, you know, I know you don't get discouraged too often, Anita. I don't see it, but it took me a little while to be comfortable to shoot you an email because of your position, but I've learned that you are one of the sweetest people, so I'm going to shoot you a note. So I don't want anybody to feel closed off or like they can't send you a note of encouragement. So I want to encourage that.
Well, and those of you who know me well know that I am one of the most approachable people because I never think about what my title is, position is, because my philosophy in life is people are people, meaning we're all God's children. We're all the same. Nobody's better than anybody else. So
thank you for that.
Write me.
I'm not trying to offend you. I just wanted to share my own personal, but yeah, you're showing us your soft side now, and I'm not going to make you cry again. We have 9 minutes left, so I wanted to see if anyone else had any specific questions, comments.
Hi, can I ask a question? Because the environmental thing is making so I went on the Paraquat, and so how I know you guys have been doing some lobbying in DC for trying to get funding for the research. Is there anything if they've made it illegal in other countries, why isn't it illegal in our country yet? And because I'm thinking dementia is another brain disease, Alzheimer's, and that has increased. And I'm also now thinking, because my mother-in-law was just diagnosed with Parkinson, and it's geographically, it's there are any signs, people who live by, you mentioned the golf courses, but farms, and then
yes.
Food we get, and you say clean it, but wow, it's disturbing me greatly.
Yes, and if you look up about, there's how there's a reference to Rust Belt. There's also a Parkinson belt, and look that up, and you'll see that on the map. And definitely farming communities. Indiana is a big one. California is big because of farming and golf courses. I forget what else I was going to say on that.
So, but if these other countries have found a solution, why can't we?
Yeah,
So
that's what I was going to say.
what about Mr. Kennedy? Has he been approached yet on this? Because this would seem like it should be up on his radar.
I think it should be too, but we haven't gotten there yet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some of these things have like fallen into place in a way that like I couldn't have made them happen. And
Right.
I'm hoping that somehow we're going to get to that point, because the paraquat is really a big deal. And what it amounts to is the lobbying from the paraquat makers.
Yeah.
You know, the pesticide manufacturers and all that. They have pushed hard. They've made major contributions. I don't know this for a fact, but how else would it be working? Made major contributions to the congressman and convinced them that it's okay. And even to the point right now, there's some kind of bill being considered in the Congress, in the federal Congress, to prevent individual states from banning paraquat. Because there's a state, Vermont or Maine, one of the Northeast states, just banned it in their state. So they did it as a state basis. But the federal government is considering banning the states from banning it.
Oh gosh, no.
Yeah.
Well, and Judy, I think of you and your husband. I'm sorry, you know, and I think like, you know, where did he work? Like, what is, you know, because I do, you know, environmental. I didn't know there's a blood test you can do, and then you know if it's environmental. Like, what's that woman, Erin?
He actually, Rosemary, ran a landscaping business,
There
and
you
so
go.
yeah, he came in contact with it, but you know, without years of going back. But yeah, he came in contact with the paraquat, and at that time, who knew? So yeah, so that's how he. That's the only area that we can relate it to, because we do live out in the country area, but we do not. There's farms, but we're not quite as exposed as Indiana and some of those larger
Right.
areas where we live to farming. But it was the landscaping.
Well, if I can
We
give
have,
I'm
sorry.
I was going to say, also, when you're out buying your fruit and vegetables in the store, Google what the stickers mean on those, because they tell you if they're organically grown by the sticker number or if chemicals were used. So once you learn those codes, because every grocery store, all the fruit and vegetables have a sticker on them. So start following that. You'll be surprised at what's sitting out there.
That's a great tip. And we have about 5 minutes left, and we have two others that have questions or comments. Melanie?
Hi, Anita. This has been an eye-opener for me. Just learning that paraquat, and I'm curious as to what other chemicals are implicated, because I have a personal experience. My aunt was diagnosed late in life, and had the symptoms that you have alerted me to that I wasn't aware of, and just want to know what other chemicals she was now. I grew up in North Carolina, and my mother, her aunt, and sisters were all did farming along the border of North Carolina and South Carolina, and they farmed cotton. And when I learned of the diagnosis from my aunt and I shared it with my mom, she says, well, there were chemicals used in that farming process before they went over into other jobs and textile and other industries. My aunt went on to work in an industry that she was exposed to chemicals, and a company that she worked for. And then there was also a lawsuit because of that. So I don't know.
Another big industry that has a bad chemical in it is dry cleaning.
Yeah.
Something called THC, I think is what it is. And it has some long name. But I did research on that for here because we have a lot of clothes dry cleaning because of the work, large business suits and things over the years. But fortunately, over the last at least 10 years in Indiana, the dry cleaning places have changed what they use and they are clean now here. but that is something to be careful about. And then I will, after this, I will, in the next few days, look up some of the chemical stuff and share it with you guys too, so you can watch for some other things. And then I would just even say, like, read labels. Larry bought something, I can't even remember what it was for, but it was some kind of spray he was going to use on something. And I thought it smelled very strong, and it just, my instincts took over. And I read the chemicals, looked them up, and we threw it away because it just sounded like it was bad.
And while we have a couple minutes, Liz.
Yes, I just wanted to say I've known Anita almost all my life, and she lived next door, and she's the strongest woman I've ever met. So I know she's going to do really well.
Well, if you were going to be all sweet and teary, I wouldn't have called on you, but thank you.
I did have a question, though. So my maternal grandfather had Parkinson's. Is there anything like precautions I should take, or?
It's probably not genetic, I would say. And,
okay,
whatever he was exposed to, you could have been exposed. I don't know. But I can tell you this, he's the first person that I ever remember knowing that had Parkinson's.
Yeah.
And that's stuck, I don't know why, that's stuck in my mind all these years.
Well, yeah, they always thought his Parkinson's was PTSD from World War II.
Well, yeah, and he could have been exposed to something in World War II too. I mean, there are many, especially Vietnam vets with the Agent Orange. Yeah.
And they just passed it off for 25 years, and he had it when he was 45. So
yeah, they learned a lot in the last 20 years, especially.
Yeah.
And I'm going to add one more thing real quick, just something you can do. Put the logo on your email. Use it as an email signature.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter whether people know why you're doing it or not. It starts to get it out there. And you can
actually, Anita, we're coming up with a new SIG block for the whole company-wide.
Oh,
and
awesome.
The Red Tulip logo is on. And so once we all get that and we all implement it, every one of us will have the Red Tulip on our SIG block.
Awesome. I didn't even know that. See how great Jan is? She and Jan are just out there doing things that I don't even think about.
She's going to make sure it looks pretty. She doesn't want us to go out there and make a mess. So she wants to make it look pretty.
Yeah,
we appreciate that. Yeah. So I don't want to cut you off. Is there anything else you want to share, Anita?
No, I don't think so. I think I got all the major things in. And I'm sorry, they're in the middle of the, my mouth got so dry. I was having trouble talking. I feel bad about that. It's like, can I do this over and sound better? But, that's the way it goes sometimes. Though.
No.
But I do want to say thank you so much. I had no idea how much support. I mean, I kind of did, but not to this level. And that it was actually having a positive impact on other people.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll get this sent out to others, and I hope everyone has a good day. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I love you. Thank you for sharing.
Bye. You're welcome.
I know.